The rejected Omega visited her family's burial ground. The Alpha King was already there on his knees. Hello everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let's get back to our main character. Lena stood alone in the cold, windswept graveyard, the sharp scent of earth filling the air as she looked down at the weathered stones marking the resting places of her family. The place where they had all been laid to rest, where memories were buried deep, was now silent. She had come to this place often, seeking solace, but today it felt different. A heavy sadness clung to her heart as the whispers of the pack echoed in her mind. Broken Omega, they called her. A rejection so strong, it crushed her spirit, and yet, here she was, standing at the graves of those who once loved her, feeling the sting of their absence more than ever. She closed her eyes, trying to block out the world. Maybe it was the loneliness, the weight of her failure, or the cruel words of those who had cast her aside. But Lena couldn't shake the feeling that something was waiting for her here, something important. When she opened her eyes again, she saw a figure ahead of her, standing still in the shadows of the trees. At first, she thought it was a trick of the light. But as her gaze sharpened, the figure stepped forward. The man was tall, his presence unmistakable. The Alpha King, Aric, stood in front of her. He knelt on one knee, his face a mix of anguish and determination, as if he had been waiting for her all along. Lena's breath caught in her throat. Why was he here? Why in this place of all places? Her heart raced as she stood frozen, unsure of what to do or say. She could feel the tension in the air, the connection that she had tried so hard to ignore. Aric, the man who had always seemed so distant, so unreachable, was here, kneeling in front of her like he was waiting for something. Lena, his voice was low, almost a whisper, yet it carried a weight of something deeper. I've been searching for you, for what feels like a lifetime. The words hung between them like an unspoken promise. Lena didn't know how to respond. She had been rejected by him once, turned away like she was nothing. And yet, here he was, on his knees before her, as if this moment was meant to happen. The world seemed to stop around her. You don't need to kneel, she said softly, though her heart was racing in her chest. Aric's gaze lifted to meet hers, his eyes filled with something she couldn't place. I must, he said, because you are mine, Lena. You were always meant to be mine, and I have come to claim what's always been yours. The weight of his words sank into her heart. How could this be real? How could she, the rejected Omega, be the one he had chosen? As Lena stood frozen, staring down at the Alpha King who was still kneeling before her, the weight of the moment seemed to crash down on her. Her heart pounded in her chest, and the world around her felt like it had gone silent, as if time itself had stopped. She had never imagined that this day would come, not like this. Aric, the man who had once rejected her, was now here, his posture commanding yet filled with something she couldn't understand. He had come to claim her. But how? After all the years of rejection, after the cold, heartless way he had cast her aside, why would he be here now? Why? She whispered, her voice trembling as she spoke. Aric's eyes never left hers, his expression softening just slightly. Because you are my fate, Lena. You've always been mine. I knew it the moment I laid eyes on you, but I couldn't see it then. I was blind, but now I see. His words, so full of sincerity, struck something deep within her. Lena's mind spun. She wanted to believe him, so badly, but the scars of the past still burned. How could he expect her to just forget everything that had happened between them? How could he expect her to believe that he truly wanted her now, after everything? You rejected me, she said quietly, her voice shaky but firm. You pushed me away like I didn't matter, like I was nothing. The anger in her voice surprised even her, but she couldn't help it. The years of hurt, the humiliation, the loneliness, it all came rushing back. Aric's gaze softened even more, and he slowly stood up, moving toward her with slow, deliberate steps. When he was close enough, he reached out and gently cupped her face in his hand. I know, Lena, he said, his voice raw with regret. I was a fool. I see that now. I didn't know what I was doing, and I never realized what I had until it was almost too late. I never should have rejected you. I never should have let you go. Lena closed her eyes, fighting back the tears that threatened to fall. She didn't want to feel this way. She didn't want to feel weak, or vulnerable, or like she was being pulled back into something that would only hurt her again. But Aric's touch, his warmth, it felt like something she had been missing for so long. It felt like home. But why now? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Why come to me now? After all these years? Aric's thumb gently brushed against her cheek as he looked into her eyes. Because I have finally realized the truth, Lena. I'm not whole without you. I never was. You are my other half, the one I was meant to be with. And I will do whatever it takes to make things right, to prove to you that I am worthy of your love. Lena's breath hitched. His words were everything she had wanted to hear, but it was hard to believe them after all that had happened. She took a step back, her mind racing. I don't know if I can trust you, she said, her voice trembling with uncertainty. I don't know if I can let go of everything I've been through. I don't know if I can forgive you. Aric's face fell slightly, and for a moment, Lena thought he might walk away, but he didn't. Instead, he reached out and gently took her hands in his. I don't expect you to forgive me right away, he said softly. But I will prove myself to you, every single day. I will do whatever it takes to show you that I am the man you deserve. And I will never let you go again. The sincerity in his voice, the depth of his emotion, made Lena's heart ache. For the first time in a long while, she felt something stir within her, something she hadn't felt in years. Hope. Aric slowly closed the distance between them, his hand still holding hers, and he leaned down, pressing his forehead gently against hers. Please, he whispered. Let me show you the life we can have together. Let me make it right. Lena's heart raced as she stood there, her mind battling between the past and the future. She wanted to believe him. She wanted to believe that they could have a future together. But the fear, the doubt, the pain, it was all so overwhelming. Still, as she stood there in the graveyard, with the wind whispering through the trees and the moon shining down on them, something deep inside her told her that this moment was the beginning of something new. Something that could heal all the hurt, all the scars, and finally give her the love she had always dreamed of. Aric was right. They were fated. And maybe, just maybe, it was time to stop running from it. Okay, Lena whispered, her voice soft but sure. I'll try. I'll try to trust you. Aric's face lit up with relief, and without saying another word, he pulled her into a tender embrace. For the first time in years, Lena felt safe. For the first time in years, she felt loved. As Lena and Aric stood together in the quiet graveyard, the weight of their shared moment hung in the air. Everything felt still, as if the world around them was holding its breath. Lena's heart was racing, not just from the proximity to Aric, but from the raw emotions she had kept buried for so long. She had come to the graveyard seeking closure, but instead, she had found him, her fated mate, the man who had rejected her so many years ago, now standing before her with nothing but sincerity in his eyes. She could feel the pull between them, stronger than anything she had ever felt before. Her mind screamed at her to pull away, to protect herself, but her heart was telling her something different. I never imagined this day would come, Lena whispered, almost to herself, as she looked up at Aric, searching his face for any sign of insincerity. After everything that happened, after all the pain and rejection, I never thought I would be standing here with you. Aric's gaze softened as he took a step closer, his hand still holding hers gently. I know, he replied quietly, his voice full of regret. And I will spend every day making up for the mistakes I made. I'm not asking for your forgiveness right now, but I'm asking for a chance, just a chance to prove to you that I can be the man you deserve. Lena swallowed hard, her emotions swirling inside her like a storm. Could she really trust him? After everything, could she allow herself to believe in this second chance? She had always believed in love, in the idea of fate, but life had taught her that fate wasn't always kind. It wasn't always fair. Yet, standing here now, with Aric in front of her, the impossible didn't seem so impossible anymore. I don't know if I can give you that chance, she said softly, still unsure of herself, of everything. I don't know if I can trust you after all this time. Aric's face tightened with pain, but he didn't let go of her hand. Instead, he reached out with his other hand, cupping her cheek gently, his thumb brushing away the tear that had fallen down her face. Lena, he said, his voice trembling slightly, I know I don't deserve it, but I will never stop trying to prove to you that I am worthy of your love. I can't change the past, but I can make sure the future is different. A future where you are not alone, where you are not rejected, where you are loved and cherished." Lena closed her eyes, leaning into his touch, allowing herself to feel his warmth, to feel the truth in his words. It was all so overwhelming, the pain, the history, the uncertainty, but for the first time, she felt like she wasn't fighting alone. For the first time, she felt like maybe, just maybe, there was a way forward. She opened her eyes and looked at him again, her heart hammering in her chest. "What if I can't forgive you?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Aric's expression faltered, but he didn't pull back. "Then I will wait for you," he said simply. "I will wait for as long as it takes, Lena. I don't expect you to forgive me right away. I don't expect everything to be perfect, but I will be here. I will always be here." Lena's breath caught in her throat as she looked at him, really looked at him. This was the man who had once broken her heart, but now he was here, kneeling in front of her, asking for a chance to heal what he had once shattered. A part of her wanted to pull away, to run, to protect herself from the pain, but another part, the part she had buried deep down for so long, wanted to believe in him, in them. She had always believed in fate, in destiny, but was this truly her destiny? Was this really the moment everything changed? Slowly, she reached up and touched his hand on her cheek, her fingers trembling as they grazed his skin. "I don't know what the future holds," she said, her voice thick with emotion. "But maybe I can try. Maybe we can try." Aric's eyes brightened with hope, and without another word, he leaned down and kissed her forehead softly, as if the kiss was a promise, a vow, a silent pledge that everything would be okay. As he pulled away, he looked at her with such tenderness, such devotion, that Lena felt her walls begin to crumble, bit by bit. For the first time in so long, she allowed herself to hope. Hope for a future she hadn't dared dream of. A future where she was loved. A future where Aric wasn't the man who had broken her heart, but the one who would rebuild it. She nodded slowly, the beginnings of a smile tugging at her lips. I think I'm ready to try too." Aric's smile was full of relief, full of joy, and as he leaned in to kiss her lips, Lena felt the world around them fade away. In that moment, nothing else mattered. Not the past, not the pain, not the uncertainty. All that mattered was the present, and the love that was finally beginning to blossom between them. As the days passed, Lena found herself caught between the echoes of her past and the fragile hope that Aric was offering her. Every moment with him felt both comforting and terrifying. She had never imagined that one day she would be standing by his side, sharing soft laughter, sharing meals, and even sharing a quiet walk through the forest. Yet, the weight of her scars remained, a constant reminder of the painful history they both carried. Aric was always there, always attentive, always trying to make up for what he had done. He would hold her hand when she felt uncertain, offer her words of encouragement when doubt crept into her heart, and above all, he would never let her feel alone. But deep inside, Lena struggled. She couldn't shake the fear that maybe, just maybe, this happiness was too fleeting, that it could slip away just like the love she had once thought would last. She had been rejected before, and it had left her shattered. Could she really trust Aric again? Could she let herself be vulnerable enough to believe in the love he now offered her? One evening, as they sat by the fire, Lena's mind began to race with questions she didn't want to ask. Aric was talking about something, but she barely heard him. She was lost in the thoughts that had been swirling in her head ever since they had begun this new chapter together. "Lena," Aric's voice broke through her thoughts, gentle but firm. "What's on your mind?" Lena looked up at him, her eyes filled with uncertainty. She hadn't meant to be distant, but she couldn't help it. Her fears were overwhelming. I don't know, Aric," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "I'm scared. Scared of believing in this. Scared of believing in you. I've been hurt before, and I don't know how to let go of that." Aric's gaze softened as he reached out to take her hand in his, squeezing it gently. "I understand, Lena," he said, his voice filled with understanding and compassion. "I can't take away the pain from your past, but I can promise you that I will never hurt you again. I will never let you go, no matter what happens. I'm here for you, every single day, and I'll prove it to you, even when it's hard." Lena closed her eyes, the weight of his words sinking deep into her heart. She wanted to believe him so badly, wanted to believe that they could build something beautiful together. But the fear still lingered. "But what if it's not enough?" she asked, her voice shaking. "What if I'm not enough?" Aric stood up and moved to her side, kneeling in front of her so that he could look her in the eyes. "You are more than enough, Lena," he said with unwavering certainty. "You are everything to me. I know I don't deserve your trust, but I will spend the rest of my life earning it. You don't have to carry the weight of the past alone anymore. We carry it together, and we move forward together." Lena felt a tear slip down her cheek, but this time, it wasn't from sadness. It was from the overwhelming feeling of being seen, of being understood in a way she had never experienced before. For the first time, she allowed herself to lean into him, to believe that maybe, just maybe, this could be real. "I'm scared, Aric," she whispered, her voice trembling. "I'm scared that I'll lose you again, that I'll be left alone again." Aric's expression softened, and he pulled her into his arms, holding her close. "You won't lose me," he whispered, his voice steady and soothing. "I'm not going anywhere, and I won't let you go." In the safety of his embrace, Lena finally allowed herself to let go of the fear that had been holding her back. She buried her face in his chest, breathing in the scent of pine and earth that had come to feel like home. For the first time in years, she allowed herself to believe in the possibility of love again. As the fire crackled beside them, the world outside faded away, and all that mattered was the two of them. The past was still there, lingering in the shadows, but for the first time, it didn't feel like it had the power to control her. Together, they were building something new, something stronger than the pain of the past. And in that moment, Lena knew she was ready to embrace it. She was ready to let go of the hurt, to trust again, and to give Aric, her fated mate, a chance to show her the love he promised. Because no matter how broken she had felt, Aric had shown her that even the most shattered pieces could come together to create something whole. As days turned into weeks, Lena began to let herself open up to Aric in ways she never thought possible. The walls she had built around her heart slowly started to crumble. She no longer felt like the broken Omega who had been discarded by everyone, left to fade into the shadows. Aric, the man who had once rejected her, was now her protector, her companion, and, more importantly, her fated mate. Each day they spent together felt like a small victory over the pain of their pasts, and for the first time in years, Lena felt truly alive. However, the ghosts of their shared history still lingered, sometimes haunting the quiet moments between them. Aric had made promises, and Lena believed in him, but the scar of rejection still ran deep, reminding her of all the times she had been left behind. One evening, as they walked together under the moonlit sky, Lena paused and turned to face Aric, her expression serious. "Aric," she began, her voice soft but firm, "I need to ask you something. Something that's been weighing on my mind." Aric looked at her, his brow furrowing slightly in concern. "Anything, Lena. You can ask me anything." Lena took a deep breath, trying to steady the whirlwind of emotions inside her. "When you rejected me, when you pushed me away, was it because of who I am, or because of something inside you?" Aric's expression darkened, his jaw tightening slightly as he stepped closer, his hand reaching out to gently hold hers. "It was never about you, Lena," he said, his voice thick with regret. "I was foolish, lost in my own fears and insecurities. I thought I had to follow the path others set for me, that I had to prove myself by rejecting what was right in front of me. But it wasn't you, Lena. It was me. I didn't understand the depth of what I was throwing away." Lena's heart tightened at his words, but the doubt still lingered in her mind. "And now," she asked, her voice trembling slightly, "now that you know what you want, now that you see me as your mate, are you sure it's not just because you feel like you have to fix your mistakes?" Aric paused for a moment, his eyes never leaving hers. The vulnerability in her question cut deep, and he knew he had to answer with complete honesty. "I would be lying if I said I wasn't trying to make things right," he said quietly. "But it's not just about fixing my mistakes, Lena. It's about seeing you for who you truly are, seeing your strength, your beauty, your kindness, and realizing that I can't live without you. You are my mate, and I have no other choice but to love you, protect you, and cherish you." The sincerity in his words brought a lump to Lena's throat, and for a moment, she didn't know how to respond. She had longed for this kind of love, but after everything, Could she truly trust him again? Could she allow herself to embrace the love they shared, knowing the pain of the past was still fresh in her heart? Aric, sensing her hesitation, gently cupped her face in his hands, his touch soft but firm. "Lena, I know I don't deserve your trust," he said, his voice full of raw emotion, "but I will spend every day proving that I am worthy of it. I will never hurt you again, and I will never let you go. You are my heart, my soul, and nothing will ever change that." A tear slipped down Lena's cheek, but this time it wasn't from sorrow. It was from the overwhelming weight of his words, the depth of his feelings. Slowly, she nodded, her heart beginning to soften, her defenses weakening. "I want to believe you, Aric," she whispered. "I want to believe that we can have a future together." Aric smiled, his eyes full of love and hope, as he pulled her into his embrace. "We will, Lena," he murmured against her hair. "We will build that future together, one day at a time." As they stood there, wrapped in each other's arms, Lena realized that love, true love, was not about perfection or never making mistakes. It was about accepting each other for who they were, flaws and all, and choosing to grow together. The journey ahead wouldn't be easy. There would be challenges, doubts, and moments of fear. But in that moment, Lena knew that with Aric by her side, she was ready to face whatever came their way. Together, they could overcome anything, because they were no longer two broken souls. They were one, united by fate, bound by love. As time passed, Lena and Aric found a new rhythm in their lives together, a rhythm they hadn't expected to find but were grateful for nonetheless. Each day, their bond grew stronger, and slowly, the shadows of their pasts began to recede, though they were not fully gone. It wasn't easy, and there were still moments of doubt, moments when Lena would pull away, afraid to get too close, afraid of getting hurt again. But Aric was patient, always patient, showing her through actions, not just words, that he was there for her, that he was not going anywhere. Aric's presence was a constant comfort to Lena. He was always at her side, guiding her through moments of uncertainty, and supporting her when the weight of the past threatened to crush her. But there were still days when the memories would rush back, overwhelming her with their intensity. One evening, as they sat together on the balcony overlooking the distant hills, Lena couldn't shake the feeling that something was missing. Everything seemed perfect, and yet, there was a gnawing feeling in the pit of her stomach, an unease that she couldn't quite place. Aric must have noticed the shift in her mood, for he turned to her with a concerned look in his eyes. "Lena," he said softly, "what's going on? You've been quiet tonight." Lena took a deep breath, her hands trembling slightly as she stared out into the night. "I'm scared," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "Scared that I'm not enough, that maybe I'll never truly fit into your world, that I'll always be the broken omega, the one who didn't belong." Aric's face softened with understanding as he reached out to take her hand. "Lena, you don't ever have to worry about not being enough," he said gently, his voice full of conviction. "You are more than enough for me. You are everything I need, everything I want. You have never been broken in my eyes, and you never will be. We are together because we are meant to be together. It's not about fitting into my world. It's about creating a new world together, one where we both belong." Lena looked at him, her eyes searching his face for any hint of insincerity, but there was none. His gaze was steady, unwavering, filled with nothing but love and devotion. She felt a warmth spread through her chest, a warmth that slowly began to melt away the cold fear that had settled. There. She took a deep breath and let it out slowly, her shoulders relaxing for the first time in days. "I want to believe that," she said, her voice still uncertain but filled with hope. "I want to believe that we can build something real, something lasting, but the fear is still there." Aric squeezed her hand, his thumb brushing gently over her skin. "The fear will always be there," he said, "but it doesn't have to control us. Together, we can face it. Together, we are stronger than any fear, any doubt. I promise you, Lena, no matter what comes, I will be by your side. You are not alone in this." Lena nodded, feeling the weight of his words sink into her heart. She had always feared being alone, but in this moment, with Aric by her side, she realized she wasn't. They were a team, bound by fate, and nothing would ever change that. As the night stretched on, they sat together in the quiet, watching the stars twinkle above them, the world feeling just a little bit smaller, a little bit safer. For the first time in a long time, Lena felt the peace she had been searching for, the peace that came from knowing she was loved, truly loved, and that she didn't have to face the world alone. It was not the end of their journey, but a new beginning, one where they could face whatever challenges life threw at them, hand in hand, hearts intertwined, knowing that they were fated to be together. Lena leaned her head on Aric's shoulder, closing her eyes as a soft smile tugged at her lips. "Thank you," she whispered. Aric kissed the top of her head, his voice soft and tender. "Thank you for giving me a chance, Lena. Thank you for letting me love you." And in that moment, Lena knew that no matter what the future held, they would face it together, and that was all she needed. Weeks turned into months, and with each passing day, Lena and Aric's bond only deepened. What had once been tentative steps towards healing and trust had now transformed into a relationship built on solid ground, one where they no longer feared the weight of their past. They had come so far, but both of them knew that their journey wasn't over. There were still challenges ahead, still moments when their love would be tested, but they were ready. Together, they could face anything. However, it wasn't just the lingering shadows of rejection that they had to confront. There was also the reality of the world they lived in, a world that didn't always accept the bond they shared. One evening, as they prepared to attend a gathering with the pack leaders, Lena could feel the tension rising within her. She had always been an outsider, a rejected Omega, and now, walking into a room full of those who had once scorned her, the nerves began to overwhelm her. She had spent so many years hiding in the shadows, afraid of judgment, afraid of being unworthy, and now, she was stepping into the light. As they entered the hall, Lena's heart raced. The whispers started almost immediately, silent murmurs, sharp glances from those who couldn't quite understand why the Alpha King had chosen her. She tried to ignore it, to focus on Aric, who was at her side, his presence strong and unwavering. But the eyes of the pack seemed to pierce through her, reminding her of her past. "Don't let them get to you," Aric murmured, squeezing her hand gently. "You belong here, Lena. Don't ever forget that." His words were comforting, but they didn't fully ease the knot of anxiety in her stomach. She had always longed for acceptance, but now that it was within her grasp, the weight of the eyes upon her felt suffocating. She could feel the tension building as the murmurs grew louder, and before she knew it, one of the pack leaders, a woman Lena had once called a friend, stepped forward, her face cold, her eyes narrowed. "Alpha King," the woman said, her voice dripping with venom. "Are you truly so desperate for a mate that you would choose her?" The question hung in the air like a stone waiting to fall, and Lena felt her heart drop to her stomach. The room fell silent, all eyes on her, and for a moment, she felt like she might disappear into the floor. But then, Aric stepped forward, his stance firm, his eyes blazing with a fire that no one could ignore. "She is my mate," he said, his voice powerful, commanding. "And she is the strongest, most courageous woman I have ever known. Anyone who doubts her place beside me has no place in my pack." The words struck like lightning, and for a moment, Lena was taken aback. She had never heard Aric speak with such authority, with such certainty. It wasn't just about their bond. It was about his respect for her, for who she was, for what she had endured. Slowly, the pack members began to lower their heads, some in respect, others in fear of crossing the Alpha King. But the whispers still lingered, the doubt still hung in the air, and Lena couldn't help but feel it gnawing at her. She had never been one to fight for her place. She had always accepted the role others had given her, the broken Omega, the one who didn't belong. But now, with Aric at her side, with the truth of their love standing strong in the face of all those who sought to tear them apart, she realized that she didn't have to accept anything less than her worth. She turned to Aric, meeting his gaze, and for the first time, she felt the fire within her, the strength she had always had but never fully embraced. "I don't need their approval," Lena said, her voice steady, her heart full of a newfound confidence. "I don't need to be accepted by anyone except you." Aric smiled, his pride in her evident, and for a moment, the rest of the world faded away. In that moment, Lena knew that no matter what challenges lay ahead, they would face them together. And with that, the whispers faded. The pack members fell into line, and Lena stood taller than she ever had before. The woman who had once been rejected, who had once thought she was unworthy, was now standing at the side of the Alpha King, her place beside him unshakable. Their love was no longer a secret to be hidden. It was a force to be reckoned with, a bond that could not be broken. Together, they would change the future, and no one would ever again make Lena feel like she didn't belong. As the days passed, Lena and Aric settled into a new routine, one filled with shared moments of peace and quiet joy. Their love, once fragile and uncertain, now felt like a solid foundation beneath their feet. The tension that had once consumed their lives had slowly begun to dissipate, replaced by the comforting certainty that they were no longer facing the world alone. But even as their bond strengthened, the world around them was changing. The pack was beginning to see Lena not as the broken Omega they once knew, but as the true mate of the Alpha King, and that came with its own set of challenges. Some of the older pack members still whispered behind closed doors, questioning Lena's worth, her place by Aric's side. There were those who couldn't fathom the bond they shared, couldn't accept the idea of the once-rejected Omega standing as an equal next to the Alpha King. But for every doubter, there were others who stood by them, those who believed in the strength of their love, in the power of their connection. One evening, as Lena sat in their shared study, the fire crackling softly in the hearth, she was lost in her thoughts when Aric walked in. His presence was always like a warm embrace, and as soon as he entered the room, Lena felt the tension that had been gnawing at her all day begin to ease. He smiled at her, his eyes warm and filled with affection, and she couldn't help but return the smile. "You've been quiet today," Aric remarked as he crossed the room to sit beside her. Lena hesitated for a moment, unsure of how to put her thoughts into words. "I've been thinking about everything," she said finally, her voice soft. "About the pack, about us. I know things are getting better, but sometimes I still feel like I don't belong. Like I'm still that broken Omega, the one no one wanted." Aric's expression softened as he reached for her hand, taking it gently in his. "Lena," he said, his voice steady and reassuring, "you belong with me. You belong here, by my side, and no one can take that away from you." Lena looked into his eyes, and for a moment, she saw nothing but sincerity. The fear, the doubt, the insecurities that had once held her back seemed smaller now, less significant in the face of Aric's unwavering support. "I want to believe that," she whispered. "I want to believe in us, in this." Aric squeezed her hand gently, pulling her closer so that she was resting against his shoulder. "You don't have to be perfect," he said softly. "You just have to be you. And that is more than enough for me." Lena closed her eyes, the weight of his words sinking deep into her heart. She had spent so many years feeling like she wasn't enough, like she had to prove her worth. But in this moment, with Aric beside her, she realized that she didn't have to prove anything. She was enough, just as she was. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. "Thank you for seeing me, for loving me." Aric's fingers gently brushed through her hair, and he pressed a soft kiss to the top of her head. "There is no one else I could ever love more, Lena," he murmured. "You are everything I've ever wanted, everything I need." In that quiet moment, with the fire flickering softly in the background, Lena felt a sense of peace settle over her, a peace she had never known before. She didn't have to fight for her place anymore. She had already found it. And with Aric by her side, she knew that nothing could tear them apart. The days ahead wouldn't be without challenges, and there would still be moments of doubt. But as long as they had each other, Lena knew they could face anything. As the night stretched on, Lena and Aric sat together in comfortable silence, their hearts beating in sync, the world outside fading into the background. For the first time, Lena felt like she truly belonged, not just in Aric's world, but in her own. She was no longer the broken Omega, the one cast aside by everyone. She was the Alpha King's mate, his equal, and nothing would ever change that. And with that thought, Lena's heart swelled with a newfound confidence, a confidence that came from knowing that she was not just loved, but truly seen for who she was. She smiled to herself, knowing that the future was theirs to shape, together. Months passed, and Lena and Aric's lives continued to evolve. Their bond, once fragile and uncertain, was now a powerful force that defined every aspect of their shared world. They faced challenges, as every couple does, but with each passing day, their love grew deeper, stronger, more resilient. Lena had found her place beside Aric, and she no longer doubted her worth. She was not the broken Omega who had once been cast aside by the world. She was his Luna, his equal, and she stood tall beside him. Their love was not just a bond between two people. It was the foundation of something much larger, something that would change the future of their people forever. Aric, the Alpha King, had shown her what true love was: unconditional, unwavering, and full of strength. He had given her the courage to believe in herself, and together, they worked to create a future where all wolves, regardless of their rank, would be respected and valued. But even with all the peace and happiness that surrounded them, there were still moments when the weight of their past seemed to linger in the air, unspoken but present. One evening, as they sat together in the great hall of their home, Lena found herself staring out the window, watching the moon rise high above the trees. It was a quiet night, and the flickering candlelight cast soft shadows across the room. Aric noticed her distant gaze and stood up from his seat, crossing the room to join her. "What's on your mind?" he asked, his voice gentle, as he placed his hand on her shoulder. Lena turned to him, her eyes filled with a mixture of emotions. "I was just thinking," she said softly, "about everything we've been through, about how far we've come." Aric smiled and sat down beside her, his hand still resting on her shoulder. "We've come a long way, haven't we?" he said, his voice warm with pride. "But we're just getting started. The future is ours to shape, Lena." Lena smiled back at him, her heart full. "I know," she said, her voice steady with conviction. I don't ever want to forget where we started, how hard it was for both of us to find our way to each other. I don't ever want to take this for granted." Aric's eyes softened, and he reached for her hand, squeezing it gently. "I won't let you forget," he said. "And I'll never take this for granted, either. We've fought for this, for us, and I will spend every day making sure you know just how much you mean to me." Lena leaned into him, resting her head on his shoulder as they both looked out at the moon, the peaceful silence between them a reflection of how far they had come. Their journey had not been easy, but it had been worth it. They had faced rejection, doubt, and fear, and yet here they were, standing side by side, stronger than ever. And together, they knew they could face whatever the future held. The pack had slowly come to accept their bond, and those who had once doubted Lena's place beside Aric had now come to see her as the strong, capable woman she was. They were no longer just a couple in love. They were leaders, united in their vision for a better world. Their love was no longer something to hide or protect. It was something to be celebrated, something that would shape the future of their people. As the night grew deeper, Lena closed her eyes, feeling the steady rise and fall of Aric's chest as he held her close. She had once feared that she would never find her place in the world, that she would always be the outsider, the one left behind. But now, with Aric by her side, she knew she had found her place, her purpose. She had found her true home, not in a place, but in the love they shared. She opened her eyes, looking up at him with a smile. "We're going to make a difference, aren't we?" she asked softly. Aric nodded, his expression filled with determination and love. "Yes, we are," he replied. "Together, we will change the world. We will build a future where love, respect, and equality are not just dreams, but realities." As Lena gazed out at the night sky, she felt a sense of peace settle over her. The past had shaped her, but it no longer defined her. She had found her place, and with Aric, she would create a future where anything was possible. No longer the broken Omega, she was now the Luna, the leader, the one who would stand beside the Alpha King and build a new world. And with that thought, she knew that no matter what challenges came their way, they would face them together, hand in hand, hearts united in love. The future was theirs, and nothing would ever take that away. In a captivating tale of love and destiny, Lena, a rejected Omega in a werewolf pack, finds herself unexpectedly pulled into a deep bond with the Alpha King, Aric. As she battles her insecurities and the harsh judgments of her past, their werewolf connection grows stronger, turning from doubt to undeniable love. Through moments of emotional turmoil and heartache, Lena learns that she is more than the broken Omega everyone once saw her as. She is a powerful and worthy mate. Aric, once distant and cold, opens his heart to her, offering unconditional love and protection. Together, they face the challenges of their werewolf world, striving to build a future where respect, love, and equality prevail. As their love story unfolds, Lena transforms from an outsider into the Luna she was always meant to be, proving that even in a world as harsh as the werewolf realm, true love can break through the darkest of barriers. Their journey is not without obstacles, as Lena and Aric must confront the doubts and struggles that arise from their pasts, but they do so hand in hand, their werewolf bond unbreakable. This story is a powerful reminder that love, no matter how unconventional, can change the course of destiny, even in a werewolf kingdom where strength and power are everything.